Hi, everybody. Welcome back. My name is Amy. I'm a chronic pain coach, and I help motivated women return to lives they love through the use of education, movement, and self-discovery. And this week, we are talking the solution of the boom-bust cycle. Last week, we talked about the boom-bust cycle. If you are unfamiliar with that, go ahead and just watch the video before this one, and it will tell you about that horrid cycle that we tend to get ourselves in, not only with chronic pain, but we're talking about it in relationship to chronic pain. And I said the answer to the boom-bust cycle is pacing. So let's break pacing down a little bit more this week and take a look at some of the things that are involved in it. Okay. So, like I said last week, pacing is a technique that we use when we are living in chronic pain to help manage all of the things that we need to do versus our capabilities, right? So think about pacing as a technique that involves breaking tasks up into smaller activities, more manageable chunks, instead of just pushing through and doing everything all at once. I understand that we all want to be normal. We just want to do things like we used to do before the pain came. But we have to actually work for that because many of us at the point where you're willing to watch videos like this and like kind of listen to what somebody like me has to say, by the time we get to that point, we've usually been in pain for quite some time. For those of you that don't know my story, I was in pain for 20 years. I'm now 11 years pain-free. And the way that I got better includes pacing. I was a chronic boom buster for like 19 of those 20 years. And it wasn't until I started pacing that I actually started to be able to get better. And when I say that I had 20 years of chronic pain, I don't mean I never experienced pain anymore, but I no longer experience that debilitating original pain that I would call my familiar pain that was in my low back and SI joints. So just so we're clear about what I'm talking about and where I am talking from, that's what's going on. All right, so we're gonna break things up. And what pacing does is it allows you to work within your capability. Because like I said, most of us just in the process of trying to figure out what's wrong, are we safe, are we not safe, can we move, can we not move? Because when the pain's that intense, it sure as shit feels like you shouldn't move. But usually with chronic pain, we get to the point where we realize that there's nothing structurally wrong, that it's not a broken bone, it's not, like if the pain has persisted for 2 years, 3 years, it is probably not something that is tissue-based. It is more than that, right? Because if it was solely tissue-based, it would be healed by now. So in that process, we have sat, we have protected, we have guarded, we have, sat and laid a lot in protection of whatever body part is that hurts, which makes complete and total sense. But between the amount of pain that we have in our current day-to-day and the rest that we have done in hopes of healing whatever this pain is, we've lost some capabilities. So doing the things we used to do isn't really realistic at this point. Some of you may know I was an elite swimmer in a former lifetime. And if I got in the water today, I've been out of the water since COVID. So 4 years now. If I got in the water today and tried to do what I could do 4 years ago, I would not be successful. And if I got in the water today and tried to do what I did when I was 18, I would be wildly unsuccessful, right? Because I am no longer in the shape that I need to be in to do those things. And while nobody really wants to think about the fact that they're not in shape to clean their whole house or do a grocery shopping trip or this, that, or the other thing, the reality is we have probably lost strength, endurance, and all that good flexibility, maybe a little, all that good stuff. So we are pacing for our current ability, not the ability that we used to have. The other thing that I encourage my clients to think about pacing as is this is a way that you can enjoy your life. So this is how we get our lives back, right? Because I have yet to meet a chronic pain patient or someone experiencing chronic pain that when I say, if you could have one thing in the world, what would it be? And they pretty much unanimously say to have my life back. Pacing is a tool that we use to get glimmers of our life back so that, I'm fond of saying that, so that we can expand our lives again. But we got to stop with the boom bust cycle. That's just keeping us sick, right? Okay. I think pacing gives us a sense of empowerment, a sense of control over our lives, where our pain has usually taken that away. It's taken away control. It makes us feel like we can't do anything. But when we pace, we take control back, and it gives us back some of our independence instead of feeling so bogged down by pain. All right. So what are the steps to pacing? We've got 6 that we're going to talk about today. The first thing you need to do with pacing is you need to identify your base level. What is your base level of ability and activity, right? Because that's like the baseline is where we're not constantly flaring up. Okay. So how much activity can you handle comfortably before your symptoms start to increase? And that's where we start. So doing that, you usually keep an activity log for a week or so, and that'll help you identify boom bust patterns. If you would like an activity log, all you have to do is go to my website at www.restoringvenus.com/pacing, and you will find links in the blog post that will take you to pacing worksheets. All right. Finding your baseline takes time. It's an art, not a science. So you kind of gotta, watch yourself for a while and create what you think is a reasonable picture of what you think you can reasonably handle. Once you have done that, you are ready to begin figuring out how you can pace. All right. As I said with pacing, I always want the goal of pacing is to bring more things into your life that you love and enjoy, and more things that make you feel happy and be more you and make you think less about the pain. Okay. I want to shift the focus of your life from controlling the pain to returning or restoring yourself. All right. It's counterintuitive, I know, but it really is how we beat chronic pain. So we have to start by prioritizing tasks. Got to make a list of everything that you need to do. And then you need to prioritize them because you're not going to be able to do them all. So delegate, cross them off, decide what's important and what isn't. And that's going to help you focus the energy and time that you have right now on the things that need you the most. After you are done prioritizing your tasks, we move on to step 3, which is breaking things up. What do I mean by breaking things up? Okay. One of the things that I constantly see women do is they're like, I haven't cleaned the house and I'm feeling good, and so I cleaned the whole thing. Like I deep cleaned the whole thing. We're talking, scrubbed the floors, did the bathrooms, vacuumed, and everybody with back pain knows vacuuming hurts like a bejesus, right? Vacuuming is just, it's hard. So maybe, just maybe, instead of cleaning the whole house in one fell swoop, maybe you clean the floors one day. And maybe you do the countertops another day. And if you dust, good for you. I tend to forget to dust, but if you dust, maybe you do that on a third day. And then the laundry gets done in like sections. Maybe we do 1 or 2 loads instead of like 8. Now, if you don't have kids, you probably don't have 8 loads of laundry. But I know when my kids were swimming, the amount of towels was, oh my God, so many. If it is a larger project, like say decorating for the holidays, like the holiday season is huge. That's a place where I always see people boom busting. Or like summer, spring, like it is now. I I'm looking out my window at our giant project that I have broken down into pacing items because it's just wise, and I am dealing with some energy issues. So I have broken this giant replace the pergola project down into 3 different weekends, Saturday and Sunday projects, and I have called a bunch of people to help because it is not something I have to do all on my own, right? So I've taken the priority and I've broken it up into smaller tasks. And then that way it's also not like a huge burden on my friends. They can come for a couple hours, help with the project of the day, and then like move on and still have the rest of their weekend. Yeah, it's different. Especially like if you're breaking up your grocery shopping, because I know one of the huge tools that I give women that work with me is I always say, okay, you haven't gone grocery shopping in a long time. Great. Order all of your groceries online except for your produce. I want you to walk into the grocery store, shop your produce, and pick the rest up, right? I know it's different, but this is how you get your life back. And then you slowly add a section of the grocery store at a time as you gain capacity because you've stopped busting and flaring up like crazy and keeping yourself in bed for 3 weeks, right? So we're going to find our baseline. We're going to prioritize. We're going to break things up. And hopefully that I gave you some practical examples that you can extrapolate into your own life. All right, the 4th thing we're going to do is we're going to learn to listen to our bodies. Yeah. We have to be in touch with what we are feeling to know if we are overdoing. We talk a lot about retraining the brain or calming the nervous system. If you want to prove to your body that activity is safe, we have to stay under the threshold for pain, which means you have to stay within your current baseline. We can push it out a little bit at a time after 3-4 weeks of living in that baseline and not freaking our bodies out every time. Okay. I think getting into the habit of body scanning is one of the most useful ways to learn to listen to your body. It's checking in on yourself physically and emotionally and mentally. It was a nigh on to impossible skill for me to learn. I'm not great at meditation. My brain is always very busy. I've had to learn to kind of do things my way. And I love progressive muscle relaxation, and I can go through that fairly quickly. There is a video on it here if you would like to go watch that. If you want to know more what I'm talking about, it's down there somewhere, progressive muscle relaxation. That was a skill that I already had, so I can go through that kind of quickly and check in on my body and see how I'm feeling. And I'm getting better at learning to feel anxiety or overwhelm or exhaustion. I think I would call it exhaustion that I'm starting to feel. Being able to do that has helped tremendously in being able to pace, because if I can't tell where my body's at in its ability to keep going, I'm going to blow right by it every time because my brain is so focused on whatever it is that I'm doing. I hear that this can be a neurospicy kind of thing, that hyper focus. And so if you also happen to be neurospicy in some way, you're going to need to learn to connect your body and your brain back together. And setting timers is another way that you can do that. There's all kinds of different ways to apply these steps, but we got to know what the steps are in order to like even have a chance of figuring it out, right? So if we listen to our bodies, we have a lot better chance of avoiding the bust part of the cycle, and that's just good for everybody. But it takes patience. Okay, step 5, asking for help. I mentioned the pergola project, and I mentioned that I asked some friends to help. I have learned over 20 years in chronic pain and 10 years as a divorced woman, you got to ask for help. You got to ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help, not knowing how to do something, not having the ability to do something. It is okay to lean on others for support. Now might be a good time to like go through your own list of friends and resources and ask yourself, do I have relationships with people that go both ways? Because if you don't, that could also be a place that is increasing your pain because your nervous system is on edge because you are constantly giving but never receiving. Just a thought, something I see fairly often, something I was entirely guilty of. Yeah. And if you happen to be fortunate and happen to have extra money set aside or have, free cash, if you can pay people to do some of the tasks, that 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 is also a perfectly reasonable way to handle things. Or if you have the ability to get volunteers from a church or a service organization or what have you nearby, it's all help. And anything that can lift our burdens and make the things that we need to do, not the things we want to do, not the things other people want us to do, but the things we actually have to get done. If we can get help with those things, that leaves more room for us to heal. Okay. Step 6 is going to seem a little silly, and I understand that, but it's really important to the overall well-being of our bodies, and that is we need to celebrate the victories. Anytime, I mean, it's literally the way that all of social media works. We get tiny baby dopamine hits with every post, and we go dopamine surfing. Celebrating victories that we have when we are pacing helps us to keep doing it, right? It acknowledges progress. It gives us credit for tasks. We get to go, yes, I did it. Share it with somebody that understands. Put it in the comments. Put your comments, victories in the comments. I will be your cheerleader if you have no one else to cheerlead for you. Okay. In the description, you will also find a link to my Facebook group. If you post your victories in there, everybody's going to cheer for you. We love to help each other and encourage each other because that is how we retrain a brain and a nervous system. That's like this. These are the building blocks for getting out of pain, if you will. When we focus on the pain, that's what we're going to see. When we focus on the victories, that's what we're going to see. There's a lot of truth to if your mom and dad said, the company that you keep is really important, the things that you think are really important. Okay, so what we focus on will be the thing that we see. All right. I hope that has given you a framework for how you begin pacing. My course, The Art of Pacing, is open. I will drop a link below, and you can do it as a DIY, or you can do it as a group with me. Information will be below, but we're going to be going through the art of pacing in a much, much, much deeper dive. And I will be helping you set up your lives so that they work for you. Thank you so much for joining me. If you have enjoyed this content, do me a favor, hit like and subscribe because the algorithm. I have enjoyed my time with you today, and I look forward to seeing you next week.